And Mac Girl Magic Live is live again. It's another Tuesday when we get together to talk about all kinds of great stuff. And today's topic is going to be very exciting. But first, welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Girl Magic Live. And officially, it's going to be our last episode for this first / Christmas term of the 2023-2024 school year with Immaculate Conception High School, of course. And so we're excited. This topic is going to be awesome. But before I get into the topic, because it was probably the most requested topic for this season, so we're very excited about bringing it to you. But first, I am Carrie Ann Stimson. I am the big sister officer with the ICHS, or Immaculate Conception High School, ICHS Alumni Association. And with me is another beautiful lady in blue. She's one of our deputy head girls back with us. I know she's still sputtering a little bit with the coughs, but she is soldiering through. She couldn't join us last week. I did apologize for her absence because she wasn't well, but she's mostly well, but still have some little remnants going, ma'am. So we appreciate that she's with us here, and she has exams next week.
Whoa.
So there are so many other things that she could be doing on a Tuesday night, but she's with us. Jade, thank you again for co-hosting with me this season.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. And it's a pleasure to have you. It's great to see you. As I like to say, very unapologetically, we love to have student co-hosts for these conversations. So it's not just a bunch of old people talking at students. It gives a more realistic feel and connects better with the student body. Let's just keep it real. So, yes, folks. So, Jade and I are co-hosting today. She's going to be leading most of the conversations with our special guest, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. But I said earlier that this is probably the most requested topic for this season of Mac Girl Magic Live. And it's around the whole matter of safety and security, personal safety and security. And it's important, folks, because, okay, if you're living in Jamaica and not living under a rock, as I like to say, crime is a part of our everyday reality, unfortunately. And even more unfortunately, our young people, our teenagers, including our teen girls, are not exempt and will not be spared being, unfortunately, not being spared victims of acts of crime. And so it came up in our conversations as alumni and parents, because I'm also an ICHS parent as well. It came up that, this is something that we do really need to talk about, so that our young people, our teenagers, our teen in particular, are very much aware of not only the types of crimes that are being perpetrated against them, but how they can keep themselves safe, how their parents, their guardians, their families, their communities can help to keep them safe. It's really an important conversation, and so we're very happy to be able to bring this conversation to you. And we do have a very special guest, because Jade and I are not the experts, we're just co-hosts, and we had to find an expert. And so we reached out to our folks in law enforcement, and we have a very special guest who, if you've been following the communications coming up, we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us here this evening on this live stream, who is not an ICHS alum, right? And you better believe he's not, because first of all, he's a he, and he's always been a he. But he's not an ICHS alum, but that's okay, because this topic is very important, and we really wanted to make sure that we had an expert. Normally, we do have ICHS alums as a standard as our featured guest, but in this conversation, we said we needed to get an expert, whomever that person is, whether they are an alum or not. And so we reached out to our friends in law enforcement, and we're very happy that we're able to find somebody. And it's a gentleman, yes, and we're going to introduce him. But I'm going to bring him up on camera right now on our virtual stage. Special Agent Lowe, welcome. You're muted, so I think if you could unmute your microphone. There we go. Oops, you're muted again. I see you. Okay, you're not muted anymore. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Okay, so that's the beauty
Yes, I'm
about
hearing you fine.
online.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Okay, great.
Okay,
Okay,
we can.
now we're hearing you. Okay, now we're hearing you. Great. So, right. So, no need to mute again. So, you're because you are on stage, you're part of this wonderful live stream. And welcome, welcome, Special Agent Lowe. Special Agent Lowe has not only many years of experience in the area of law enforcement, but right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, sir, he is with the May give it to me, MOCA. That is the that's the acronym, but it's the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency. Did I win the prize?
That's the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency.
Woohoo! All right, that is MOCA.
Yes,
So
you did.
it's kind of like Jamaica's FBI agency, right? It's kind of like Jamaica's FBI. That's where you're at. And when we reached out to our friends in law enforcement, you came back as the
Yes, yes,
subject matter expert. Perfect, perfect. You came back as a subject matter expert to come and have this conversation with us. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to first of all welcome those people who are watching. If you are watching, please drop your name and your ICHS house in the chat, right? Big up to all of the Rose of Lima crew. Just saying, Jade, because you're not in Rose of Lima, I don't really remember what house you're in.
Oh, so I'm just gonna say big up to all the Davidican ladies. One
Davidicans.
Davidica.
All right, Rose of Lima and Dominican. I think I'm going to adopt Special Agent Lowe into Rose of Lima, but it's all right. You probably be like, no, I'm not going into the pink house. No, no way. But yes, drop your name and your ICHS house in the chat. If you are not an ICHS student, not a problem. Tell us what school you go to. Because guess what? This conversation is, yes, it was designed for ICHS students, but it don't matter. If you're a teenager living in Jamaica land, we love this conversation is for you. So drop the name of your school in the chat. Say hello. Tell us where you're watching from. If you are not watching us live, thanks for watching us as well, because this conversation is being recorded. So if you're not going to be able to stay with us for the next hour or so, that's fine. You can watch it on demand at your convenience. And folks, call your friends, WhatsApp them, DM them, tell them to come and watch this very, very important conversation here tonight, because we're going to be talking about how our teens can stay safe, how they can be aware of the kinds of crimes or criminal activity that's happening nowadays in Jamaica and wherever it's targeting to Jamaica, how they can stay safe and how they can protect themselves. So it's a conversation not just for students, but also for parents, guardians, and those who have teens in their lives generally. So thank you so much again for joining. Jade, I'm going to hand over to you. And I'll be in and out of the conversation. I'm producing as well as co-hosting, so I'll be in and out. But I'm going to hand over to you, Jade, to take over this interview with Special Agent Lowe.
Okay, so once again, thank you, Special Agent Lowe, for joining us on such an important conversation. Teen security is especially important, especially with our current climate in society. So I'd like to pose this first question to you. Why should teens care about their personal safety and security in this day and age?
I'm just going to begin with we're all human beings, right? We're not
Mhm.
property. So our lives cannot be replaced. It's very important, therefore, that we put measures in place to protect our lives, right?
Mhm.
Safety.
Okay, so I do agree we are not property, we are indeed human beings. And I feel as though, especially because I think also with the introduction of technology, I believe that there are many different avenues that teenagers can be exploited or teenagers can become victimized or vulnerable. So I do agree. I feel like their personal safety and security is of utmost importance with the introduction of all these other things that could pose danger or threat to them. So moving on to that, based on that, what would you share? Would you share with us some examples of crimes that are being committed against teenagers nowadays?
Teenage girls are some of the most susceptible in our society. So we have a prevalence of crimes that are being committed against them. For example, rape or abductions. We have online scams, and a very prevalent one, as you know, in this age of technology, is include unauthorized access of their private messages and photographs to other people without the victim's permission. So these are becoming very prevalent. So these are some of the crimes that we find that are affecting teenagers with the advent of technology. So these are becoming very prevalent.
So this is clearly telling me that I need to be a bit more cognizant of my surroundings, seeing that there's so many ways that I could possibly be victimized, especially as a teenage girl. So, what would you say are some of the tactics or strategies that criminals are now using to entrap teenagers?
Okay, personally and from a law enforcement standpoint, so personally and professionally, what I'd like teenagers and parents alike out there to know is that there are different classifications of criminals. Criminals who commit heinous crimes, for example, murder or blue collar criminals, and those who commit the less heinous crimes. So, for example, a very popular one these days is the chopping or the scamming,
Scamming.
white collar criminals. But there are a lot of instances where they commingle, right? But if we hardcore criminals use force as a tactic to recruit victims or potentially use force, so there's really no chance for the victim per se. Burning down houses when a young girl from the community isn't sent to the dance house for whatever reason it might be, or beatings, for example. They'll beat the parents or they beat the child. So they use force. That's what their gangs and to victimize them, right? Uh, if we should move on to the more softcore crimes, white collar criminals, they use promises to get their victims, right? So they use promises as coercion. So, for example, they'll meet you in the street, ordinary looking person, meet in the street, for example, do a crime for me, For example, I can give you for you to deliver this money somewhere from avenue is through the promise of popularity. Instagram and TikTok are two very prevalent. Popularity in this day and age, as we know it, is a very useful currency. currency. It can make you money. It can make you opportunities. And so, with the promise of this popularity over these social media platforms, uh, unsuspecting victims do get recruited. So those are just a small amount of tactics that we have criminals using these days to get to teenagers and to get to teenage girls. So we have to be very careful with how we use these platforms.
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I was muted. I wanted to jump in here. Thanks so much, Jade and Special Agent Lowe. I wanted to jump in because you're breaking up quite a bit for me, Special Agent Lowe. I'm not sure if that's the same for you, Jade. So I was wondering, Special Agent Lowe, if as much as we really would love to see your face, I know one of the tactics that we use to make sure that you come through clearly is if you could just turn off your camera, leaving your microphone open. We will be able to hear you, but we are getting some feedback that you're breaking up badly to the point where we're not getting a lot of your valuable information. And that's just not something we want. We want everybody to benefit. So if you could perhaps just turn off your camera, that should help to free up a little bandwidth, as it were, so we can perhaps hear you a little bit more clearly with less breaking up, if that's okay. Would you be able to do that for us? Thank you. Okay, so I see your camera is off. Fingers crossed. Um, that will help you to come through a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to ask you to just repeat that previous question for us,
Yeah.
Jade, because he broke up quite a bit. I probably missed about half of what he would have said, and it's so valuable. I want all of our. Are you able to hear us still clearly, Special Agent Lowe? Hello, Special Agent Lowe. Are you able to hear us? We're not hearing you, even though your microphone is
Yes,
open.
I'm hearing you. Well, are you
Okay,
hearing
great.
me?
Hearing you now. Okay, fingers crossed that that works. So, Jade, I'm going to ask you to just ask that last question again for me, please. And then, Special Agent Lowe, if you could respond. All right, it's okay. Let me tell you, technology, I've been doing these
Um,
lives for years.
I think also because, as Carrie was saying, whenever you have both your camera and your microphone on, it does occupy a lot of space, and maybe the
Yeah,
bandwidth, couldn't really facilitate all of that.
yeah.
So it's really best
It
if
is
you
what
just.
it is. Yeah,
That
at least.
happens all the time. Happens to me
Oh,
even.
let me tell you, it happens to me too. It's crazy. Sometimes it just depends on the day of the week. The good thing is we did get to see him. We got his introduction, but it's more important for us at this point to get the information. And I am getting feedback that we're missing easily half of what you're sharing, Special Agent Lowe. So we don't want that to be lost. So we hear you. So I'm going to ask Jay to just ask that last question again. So if you could respond again for us, please, sir, and then we'll continue the conversation in this new format. All right. Thank you very much. What I'll do is I'll just remain on camera while I continue to monitor. Thank you so much. Jay, could you re-ask that question again, please?
Yeah, no problem. So the question that I had asked was, what are some of the tactics and strategies that criminals are now using to entrap teenagers to become their victims?
Hopefully, you guys are hearing me properly now. Is it
Oh, yes,
better?
we're hearing it very clear. Very clear.
Hear me? Okay, very well. Right. So as I was explaining before, and our teenage girls out there to know, and the teenagers generally to know is that as law enforcement professionals crimes, under two subheadings. Basically, we look at those hardcore crimes that we classify as blue collar crimes and blue collar criminals. We look at those other soft core crimes, being murder, armed robbery, shooting, those types of crimes, right? And the more or the less heinous or egregious ones, we tend to classify them as white collar crimes. So the recruitment processes into those types of with hardcore crime with does tend to use force for recruitment, or to entrap our teenagers or to entrap people generally. The victim wants to be involved, more so they are forced to be involved in certain criminal acts. White collar crimes, for example, that's a very prevalent on these days. But what we like to call fraud in fraud or forgery or scamming, right? Use a different type of coercion. What is coercion? Basically tongue. So they make promises for the prospect of money, they make promises for the prospect of luxurious materials, and popularity now is a very valuable currency, as I had said before, right? TikTok and Instagram are huge platforms. It has the ability to make people money, and it has the ability to propel people what it is that they can earn or what the opportunities that are open to you. So come up 50K followers and I'm going to sell you this page or I'm going to give you this for me. That is a method of coercion, right? Because what it is, send this link to 500 people, thing criminal, and then I'll give you this page, you know? And so we find that a lot of our teenagers are falling methods that we find the criminals using these days to entrap or to coerce our teenagers.
Ah. So what I've been noticing, especially from what you're saying, is that most of us teenagers, the big platform or form that they tend to capture us is through what we use the most, which is social media. So what I could garner from this then, that this links to the first Mac Girl Magic Live that we had, which, we spoke about building your personal brand, and things that a thing that we particularly touched upon was, using the internet wisely. So that would be that teenagers, especially young ones, like the ones that are just turning the teen, or the girls that are not even at the teen as yet but have entered high school, is that they must be very, very, very wary, very, very suspicious, I'd like to say, of everyone that approaches them on social media, because they can become a victim to these criminals as well. And another thing that I also noticed that you had said was that sometimes um, persons, especially the youth, become victims to crimes because of certain bounties that are held over their heads. So this is not necessarily a question that is on my agenda, but I would just like to ask: do you feel as though one's environment contributes to their security? A teenager's environment contributes to their security. Do you think their environment plays a role in, ensuring their personal security?
Very well. Are you guys able to hear me just the same?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay, very well. Very sore point, and I'm glad you touched on it. I'm going to be quite frank with you guys. There are so many small tips or small gems that we can just use, things that are common sense. For example, I'd like to urge everybody never ever to take any invitation from anybody to go anywhere. And in the event that you do take an invitation from somebody that you know and trust, right? Or is that you're going and who it is that you're going with. That is very, very important, right? So make sure that you inform somebody of that. I'd also like to advise you guys that whenever you're out at school, just traveling groups, wherever you guys go, wherever you are on the street, use up the buddy system. Leave nobody behind. Make sure if you're a sovereign citizen across Jamaica, focus on leaving nobody behind. Alright, so I'd like to advise you guys again, social media or your email address or your cell phone number, never to offer those, especially on websites that are unknown. And a lot of people might be asking, how do I know whether these websites are legitimate? How would I know if what I'm doing to shop, will they steal my credit card information? Well, there's a little trick that we use enforcement. A lot of the times it works, and because it's technology, sometimes it doesn't work. So, for example, if you look in the URL bar, that's where you type in if you're going to do a search. That's what we call the URL bar. You'll see a little padlock beside the name of the website. That is going to signify to you that that is a secured platform transact business there, right? So whenever you're giving out your check in that URL bar and see whether or not that lock is there, and it will assist you greatly, right? And always communicate your movement with a parent. Various applications that you can download on your phone, or you can just do it through the old-fashioned way, shoot a text or shoot off a phone call to your parent, hey, halfway through, or I'm heading to Constant Spring, I'm heading to Montego Bay, whatsoever it is, where give a call, but just update your parent on where it is that you are and what you're doing. That tends to help.
Okay, so my next question would have been, would you outline the TikTok ways that teens should be doing to keep themselves safe? But it seems as though you have already addressed that. But is there anything else that you'd like to possibly add, like one extra tip that we could use to, stay safe, especially in times where we're more predisposed to crime or criminal activities?
Want to address the issue of being safe online using social media platforms. That's very crucial among you guys' generation, crucial among mine as well. But yeah, I like the point of being safe online. It's very, very important. very, very important, right? So, for example, when you're using Instagram, when you're using TikTok, be very careful of those DMs that you get. Be very careful of who it is that you're sending certain messages to, right? If they're not your friends in real life, meaning when you look on their profile, there's no picture, there's no picture on their social media at all. So you cannot tell if they're genuine or not. You just cannot tell if they're giving them any information that might lead them to where. And for the adults, be very careful of what type of information it is that you give them about where you were at. All right. So that would be my tip to you guys.
Okay, so our next question, which I think you also touched a bit briefly on, because you had given a little tip to the adults. So, would you also outline the top tips that parents and guardians should be doing to keep their teenagers slash wards safe? I know you said that they must be very, they should ensure that they're not giving out information to their children that is too sensitive. So once they're exposed, obviously, it could lead them to be victimized. But apart from that, what are some other advice? What is some other advice that you'd give to adults to ensure that they can keep their teenagers safe, especially in a time where crime is rampant and a lot of the victims are teenagers?
I would like for parents to just know that the number one tip in any of these circumstances as it relates to your teenagers is pay attention to your children. You must pay attention to your children. You cannot stress that enough. You have to remember that, first of all, you are the parent, right? So you have to know what it is that they're doing, especially on their of your children. Know where they are when they leave school, right? Know where they are when you send them keep tabs on your children, right? Put things in place to monitor their internet activity. Put things in place to monitor their social media. Every single one of those platforms have a parent to monitor. And I think the kids these days think that, for example, adults do not know that, they build a lot of what they call Finstas, fake Instagrams. We know about the Finstas. It is up to the parent to monitor those internet activities, monitor the methods that are built into the applications, or whether you find other creative methods like random checks they're communicating with. And another thing is, have the type of open and honest about their friendships. Open and honest about the relationships that they're having, right? So, you understand what's happening with them emotionally and mentally, right? That's very, very important because we do not want a case where they're feeling left out, neglected, and that is where the niche is that the criminal element is going to prey on. Because if the criminal element is going to give them attention, the criminal element is going to, tell them things to make them feel validated, and then they're going to look to that criminal element for some source of inspiration. And that is where we them and speak with them generally, right? And then other general things like, and sometimes where that is not possible, just check in with them after they leave school or when they're on their way to their co-curricular activities. Just check in with them and be certain that if you're leaving them at home, please ensure that the home is adequately secured. Or ask a trusted neighbor, for example, to keep an eye on the activities in and around the home. All right, use again for clarity information to your child. I know that in this day and age of technology, everybody has a cell phone. Please, parents, monitor the online activities of these teenagers. All right.
I may not be a parent, but I actually agree with this point, Special Agent Lowe, wholeheartedly. And it's because these are actually some things that my mom has been practicing. So ever since I was young, I have been first of all, she has always been letting me know of what the social climate is like ever since I was young, like since I was 4. So I was kind of already like desensitized to certain issues already. And also, she also monitored my social media, and she still does it to this day. She still monitors everything that I do. And she's very involved, I think, also. Even so, she asks me about things that happens in my day. I feel like also another thing, and this is just like me just bringing forth like a teenage perspective. A lot of times teenagers don't feel comfortable enough to relay certain information to their parents. So I'm just vouching for my fellow teenagers. Parents, please make yourself be a safe space. I think because my mother has been a safe space for me, why I'm able to just express myself so freely, as well as I don't think I
Yes.
have many worries because I can just tell them to her. But a lot of teenagers, especially a lot of people at my school, may not have the same privileges that I do when it comes to having an easy to talk to parent. So I would just like to add on to that as well. Please be a safe space for your
Yes.
kids, because if you are, they wouldn't need to go to another person who could possibly victimize them. And another thing is too is that if they are victimized, they can come to you and tell you without feeling guilty or guilted. So that was just my teenage perspective on the matter. So
Thanks for sharing that perspective, Jade. Because, as a mom, I was listening as well. And, I, of course, I'm going to show my age when I say this, right? But in my time, okay, so put aside the fact that when I was at Immaculate, there was no social media, right? Heck, there was no internet, there was no website thingy to worry about. But when we had to use like the phone, for instance, the phone was plugged into the wall. This is the way back in the day, even before you had cordless, and you had to have all your conversations in the living room or the
Mhm.
TV room or the master bedroom, wherever there was a phone plugged into the wall. That's where you had to talk to your friends remotely. So you're always talking in code. Yeah, yeah, because the parents are nearby. And realizing now that teenagers is a whole different era now, where teenagers can literally lock away in a bedroom, not only to take a phone call or a cell call, but they are on a screen typing in stuff that the parent can't even see. You know what I mean? There is a nomenclature that it's called dark social, right? For those of us, especially in the marketing world, it's called dark social. These channels that search engines and the Googles of this world can't pick up. So it won't read what you're talking about in WhatsApp chats and DMs. So as a parent, it's that much harder for us to know what kinds of conversations and interactions are taking place. And so it's even that much more important, as you mentioned, safe space, Jade, where we have to not only monitor our children's activity on social media to the extent that they not set up a burner account doing things that we're not seeing. That's a whole other conversation. But that they even just feel comfortable coming to talk to us about what's troubling them, or anything that's happening in their life, if they don't feel comfortable letting you in, or introducing you into their social world and mindset and thinking, it's that much harder to monitor. So it's really, really a more difficult space to parent in these days than it was 20, 30 years ago. But it is what it is. It's just the world that we live in, and we just have to, as parents, know how to adjust and recognize that there's no such thing as exclusive privacy for a teenager. They're still learning, they're still growing, they're still developing, and they will need that guidance and support to navigate their social evolution and growth and personal development. So being present and being that safe space where they feel open enough to come and speak to you is very, very important.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because as I said before, they won't feel comfortable coming to you, and then
Yes,
they could be
very true.
violated, and then you couldn't even bring it to the proper authorities like Special Agent Lowe here, for example. So,
Yes.
our final question, and I feel like this is the most important one. So, we did talk a lot about the preventative, but let's say there's a situation where a teenager does become a victim of crime. Whom or where should they contact?
And Jade, and I'm glad you brought it up. I want everybody under the sound of my voice to know that they can call the police emergency number. It's very easy to remember. Dial 911 first. Any situation that you're having, you get lost, 911. You're in a fire zone, you have dial the police emergency number. If you're in a situation where the emergency is not as urgent, you can call the nearest police station and they'll send some assistance. And those are if you're not involved in something that you want to report, then by all means you can call MOCA at 811, or you can call Crime Stop at 311, right? And you can make your report. MOCA will be more than happy to assist you. If it is that it reaches your threshold for investigation, and if it doesn't, then rest assured that we will take the necessary steps to refer you to the department or agency that is in charge of or has the mandate to carry out those types of investigations. Remember, again, we're in a day of technology and social media, and so MOCA is also on Facebook and we are on Instagram, and the handle is @MOCA Jamaica. That's the agency's handle, right? So if you DM them, they will be happy to pass on whether it's about an organized criminal network, or whether it's about, something that you don't feel comfortable sharing information on. And 311, you are very anonymous when you give the information, and we will process that information to the best of our ability and call somebody. Oh, and last but definitely not least, you can also send an email to us through our email .gov.jm. Again, that's info@moca.gov.gm. So those are all the methods that you'll be able to reach MOCA by.
All righty. Jade, I think you're muted.
My bad. So,
Oh, no problem. Happens to me all the time.
Oh my gosh, it happens to me countless amounts of times. I was just saying that I have saved this information, and it's saved, it's retained, and I shall use it in the future. So thank you so much,
No
Special Agent Lowe.
problem. We look forward
All
to hearing.
right. Yes,
No
thank you
problem.
very much. I'd like to add my own thanks as well, Special Agent Lowe. I mean, I know that we've had quite a number of technical challenges through the conversation, but I think we got some of the key nuggets, and don't be surprised if we try to do this again next term, because I think this topic needs more justice than it often gets, because I think there's a lot of great information that we can continue to push out there. So don't be surprised if we reach back out to MOCA or any of our
Yes.
other friends in law enforcement to continue this conversation. And of course, Jade, thank you as always for taking the time to join. I'm going to send you back to your studies now.
As we're available,
Uh, and I'm sorry, Special Agent Lowe, what were you saying? I think I've heard you trying to come through. All right, not hearing you again, but yes, just saying, folks, that thank you again for joining us. This will be, or this has been, our last live stream for this term, this first term of the 2023-2024 school year. So we will pick up back our Mac Girl Magic live streams in the new school term, which begins in January. Right. And so if I don't, well, I won't get to see or speak to most of everybody on here, but all the very best for the holiday season. Please stay safe, and wishing you and yours a very happy, healthy, abundant, and love filled holiday season. Happy 2024 when it
Oh wait, there's
comes.
another important date.
Oh, what?
My 18th birthday.
Get out. When is it?
I'm actually born at the end of the year, so December 30th.
Wow, right there, right onto the new year. Oh my gosh. Right on the cusp of the new
Right
year.
on the cusp,
So
right?
what are the plans?
The plans are pending.
Okay. Well, 18 is a big deal. So make sure you
Universal
celebrate
adult
it.
suffrage. So
Yeah, now you can vote. Awesome, awesome. Well, happy birthday when it comes. I'll definitely remember to message you on the day or give you a call.
okay,
Celebrate,
I'll be
celebrate.
waiting it. I'll await it.
And it's great that it's happening while you're on holidays, so you don't
No,
have
that's
school.
the best part.
Yeah, so
So
you don't get to contend with school or
cool.
anything like that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, congrats again. So, guys, yes, so have a great holiday season, and all being well, God's willing, we'll see you back here in the new school term. Not sure of what date yet, but remember, guys, please subscribe to this channel, ICHS Alumni, ALUMNAE 876. That's Jamaica's area code, ICHS Alumni 876. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that notification bell so you get a notification every single time we go live. Of course, please feel free to share this channel, share these conversations with anyone whom you believe would find it valuable as well. And we look forward to connecting with you again in the new school term. All right. So, cheers, everybody. Take care and stay
Bye
safe.
everyone. See you next week.
Bye.